All right, last year I had a question about snow melt. I was at the river and I was curious about the melting process, the snow melting process, because I was looking at a solid chunk of like pure ice just on the top of the river, just off to the side, kind of by the bank, and I was curious because it looked so clear and so pure, and I was just curious, all of the snowflakes are supposed to um, form around particulates. And a lot of, like, if you look at snow, a lot of times you can almost even see like grains of sand. If you've ever tried to eat snow as an adult, like as a kid, you're not going to see that stuff and you just eat ice and snow, however you want to, but you don't think of it. But as adults, I did grab a scoop of snow for reminiscing, and have some nice clean water, and it had the some particulates and you could see them. So I tried to scoop it out, but I was just curious, looking at the pure ice, where the particulates go and how that happens during the ice melt process. I guess looking at it today, because it was pure ice, you didn't see any particulates whatsoever. And like looking at this, you can tell that there's dirt on the top, and so that maybe that factors in. Maybe those are the particulates of snow that's already melted, and they're kind of accumulating. And then, but how on earth was there ice on top of the water that still had that purity, without any sign of these particulates? If this is the particulates that have already melted, obviously you have these pure, clear kind of ice crystals, ice chunks, I guess, mini ice chunks. They start out as the flakes, they clump, and as they melt, and they consolidate into these mini ice chunks as they melt. But and it looks like there is the dirt on the top, but where does it go when you have those sections of just pure ice? How does that work? Does it sink in over time? Does the ice reform? And of course, the chunk of ice I was looking at was in the water, in the river. So it could have honestly melted and letting all of the particulates fall into the water. But it could also not have. So I was just curious about that. What happens? It does look dirty upon the melt, and I don't know. Of course, there are particulates in the air, and so I don't know how much of this is from the air, how much of it is from the snowflakes. It's a tough one, I guess, to know, just naturally, but it does look very dirty. But the ice itself does look pure. So I wonder. Let me see if I can find a patch of ice that I don't see any particulates. Hold on. Here is some ice, and it's not over water, so we'll see if I can just grab a little piece of it. I don't know, because that's pretty well on there. There are little places of just ice melt, pure water. I got a little chunk. But you can even now you can see even the dirt here. Let's see. This was a chunk that I just sent flying. And all the smush below it, which means I contaminated the sample. Let's see. I'm wondering if the particulates that the snow forms around, if they are just so microcosmic that perhaps any contaminants that you can actually see in the snow are perhaps from the air, from dust in the air below where the snow actually forms. I will have to speak with a. I can do some research, of course. I've never measured anything that was so small. I've never tried to um, measure us, fractions of snowflakes, just because centimeter is kind of millimeter is kind of the smallest I've looked at. I do have a microscope, but I don't measure that. So that's something that would be interesting to look into more, but just kind of curious.